building a video editing career is pretty tough. And if you're trying to build one from scratch, or if you're trying to take your editing career to the next step, then some of the challenges that you're facing right now can feel really daunting and kind of overbearing. I've been through those. I know exactly how you're feeling, and it gets better, trust me. And so I wanted to share with you some of the challenges that we all face as video editors trying to make our way in this industry, and also how you can overcome those. All right, so let's get to it. Hello, welcome back to another episode of the video editing podcast from Unsplice with your host, Shiny. Hello, I am the founder and lead trainer at Unsplice, and I have been cutting professionally for 15 years in London on documentaries, commercials, branded content, music videos, all the good stuff. And so what we're sharing today, you and I, it comes from a place of experience. It comes from my knowledge. It comes from a place of sympathy as well, because when I was going through that period, trying to build my way up there, I didn't really have anybody to come to lean on, to give guidance on these things in our industry. It was very much down to who you knew within the industry, who you were working with or close with, and pulling them to one side to ask them questions. So hopefully this will help you if you are in this position, because most of us are working remotely and we don't have that opportunity anymore to sort of grab someone close to ask them a question. So I'm going to list these out, but I'm going to go through some of the things one by one. And one of the first things that comes to mind is the high competition in the industry, because as we've seen the cost of computer equipment come down over the years and the rise of YouTube go up, the competition, there's so many more video editors or people that want to be video editors than ever before. So this does mean that you will have some competition and you will need to stand out. It doesn't mean that there aren't enough jobs, because I speak to clients all the time who are desperate for good editors, and I'm underscoring good or brilliant editors, people who are better than the norm, who stand out. And that doesn't necessarily mean they have to be super incredibly skilled editors, but they're trustworthy and they get stuff done and they are good storytellers. So that is one thing you really should be taking into consideration. The better you are at storytelling and the better you are at client relations, keeping the client happy, then the more work you'll get. It's kind of simple, really. Client relations, workflow, and storytelling. Those are the three pillars of an in-demand editor. And it used to be the case that you had to have a massive machine, a big standalone computer with a monitor that was highly modifiable, and most editors would have to modify it to meet their needs. But now we have laptops that will do the same thing. I have a laptop, really easy, small to carry around, great, but it is still an investment. It's still, $1,500 or whatever you want to spend on a laptop, which is not a small amount of money when you are just starting out. So I do appreciate that. And of course, the cost of software. And if you are thinking of using Premiere is the industry standard within the commercial documentary branded content world. If you go into broadcast for documentaries, then they are using Avid, but predominantly Premiere. And I can understand that is prohibitively expensive. A lot of people paying $50 a month. You can get a free month trial, but there are ways to get your Premiere Pro subscription down. If you cancel it, they give you a nice offer at the end. So that is a way to get the cost down a bit. And you don't have to have the latest laptop. You can get one that's a few years old, as long as you work with proxies. So practice your technical workflow, transcode everything to proxies, and you can get away with a very cheap and affordable laptop. So don't see these as barriers if you are struggling and you're comprehending this and thinking, I'd love to do that, but I just can't afford it. The cost has really gone down now. And if you're looking for a free video editor, then of course you can use DaVinci Resolve, which so many people do. It's a very capable editor. As you start working with bigger clients, you have to keep in mind that it's the client that dictates the software you use, because they might want to use your project or you to share the project in the future, or you might need to work with other editors. So several of you working together on one project. So you'll all need to be using the same software for obvious reasons. So when it comes to that point in your career, it is most definitely worth switching. Don't hold on to your software choice like a scared puppy. It's just a piece of software. Don't get emotionally attached to it, which so many people do. In fact, every editor I speak to gets emotionally attached to software. Don't. It's just software. One day one will be in Flavor, another day another one will be. Just use whichever one is in Flavor at the time. At this moment, it's Premiere. Who knows what that is going to be in 5 years? But worth keeping up with current trends. Okay. And speaking of trends, there are trends within editing itself in terms of stylistically. YouTube has kind of brought jump cuts to the fore, and also TikTok and social media has brought all these crazy camera transitions into flavor, into fashion. They are trends. They come and they go. It is worth keeping that in mind as you use these and as you learn these. Don't think that those trends are editing, in terms of editing at its core. They're just fashion. They're taste. They will come and they will go. If you look at the different style of editing in movies from the 50s to now, everything's got a lot more faster cuts, closer cameras. It's a completely different style of filmmaking. The same with editing. So worth keeping that in mind. The editing process itself can be quite long in terms of receive the footage and then executing it, delivering it. And sometimes that comes with its own challenges in terms of the scale of the data, how you handle all those assets, where are you keeping them, how are you backing up your workflow, and in terms of dealing with the project over an extended period, making sure you hit deadlines, obviously incredibly important. And so think about your workflow, really try and nail your workflow, and you will find this a lot easier to handle. And also your creative workflow. So technical workflow in terms of asset handling and things like this, and your creative workflow in terms of how you are actually building out an edit, using string outs and things like this, that will keep your mind sane and keep you on target to hit those deadlines. And one of the hardest things, I think we can all agree, about video editing is finding reliable clients. So when you are starting out, a lot of the clients that you're working with will be highly demanding and they will pay low amounts. Not the best start, but you do grow past that it is a short period. I say short, 2 years maybe, or less if you are really on it. So if you want to get past that in less than 6 months, then it really is about finding the jobs and working. And I hate that clients will post jobs that are super, super cheap. They're meant for overseas editors, but editors who are not overseas will take them just because they need the experience, so those prices go up. I don't hate that specifically, but I do hate how the industry has undervalued editing. And it is because people will just take any jobs and work for pennies. And so people know that they can get editing done for pennies, and so they will do that. Is there a way around that? Well, not really, no. Unless everybody stops taking those jobs. But it is good for your portfolio to take on jobs. If you do it cheaply, it is good to take on jobs that align specifically with the kind of things that you enjoy. So if you enjoy outdoor travel, cut edits specifically for outdoor travel. And as you build your portfolio based around that, and you've niched down in your portfolio, all the things in your portfolio relate to that, then you will find that the clients, you can use this as a springboard to find clients specifically in that niche. Whereas if you will just take everything that comes your way, sure, I'll do it, then you will actually find it takes longer to get to a place where you want to be. But you might find that you get paid more in the end. But if you niche down, then you can use that as a springboard, because the person who is giving you the low paid work, they know somebody and do great work for them. They'll recommend you, or you actually need to ask for a recommendation. This is incredibly important. Ask for a recommendation, and then the next person, you tell them a rate, you tell them double what you charged before, and then the next, you really impress them, and then you get them to recommend you to someone else, put your rate up again, and you can do that very quickly. And by starting in a niche, you can find people who are part of a community. So that if you do work for a client, and the niche is small, then they will know somebody in that niche that they can recommend you to. Whereas if you just kind of like doing generic stuff, anything that comes your way, the chances of them knowing somebody else, the person that they know will probably be somebody else with the same budget in mind. Hope that seems clear. And that is how you can find reliable clients, because obviously the cheaper ones are not reliable. So you want to work your way up to the higher paid clients as soon as possible. If you are unsure of how to do that, then you can find some training online. There is some in Unsplice Pro if you're interested, and really you want to specifically target the people making the stuff that you want to make, and you want to network sideways. So people, not the gatekeepers, the producers, the people with the money. You want to network sideways. You want to speak to the person who's doing the thing that you want to do. So editors or assistant editors. And that should be where your focus is. Okay. One of the other things really challenging about breaking into our industry is the tight deadlines. We have spoken very briefly on this, but they are getting shorter and shorter. Certainly for the longer form videos that I've been cutting over the years, schedules have gone from 8 weeks for a documentary down to 5 or even 4 weeks. So literally half the time, which is nuts. And of course, the pay rate doesn't go up. This is something that we are battling with as an industry, and it's because of the speed of content. How much content needs to be made now, or is being made, and people feel it needs to be made, and so it's all about higher turnover And if quality takes a hit because of that, most people don't care. They'll just much rather get it out. And so if you do find someone who offers, a client that offers healthy deadlines, normal deadlines, and you don't feel panicked as you are cutting, hold on to those. Even if the work isn't so enjoyable, hold on to the client, keep them tight, and keep in touch, because you will find periods in your schedule as a professional where you are working on these crazy projects and you just need a break. You just need a project, whatever it is, even if it's mind numbing, that just allows you to breathe. And that's one of the other things that we should talk about, is this ebb and weave, it's never rains but it pours of the workload. It's feast or famine sort of thing. And that's to be expected with our industry, especially as a freelancer. You can prepare yourself for that by saving 6 months in an emergency expense account, and by keeping your money in a separate account and only paying yourself X amount per month. So if you are working as a freelancer and you get, 10,000 in the bank from one job, then you want to keep that separate to your everyday banking account, because you only want what you are spending for that month in the account. Otherwise, you'll just rip through it all. So there is definitely an element of financial responsibility if you are going to work as a freelancer. And so looking after your own finances is one of the tougher things, but it shouldn't put you off, because you get to charge more. You get to work less. I work about 6 months of the year, and out of choice, and I work from home all the time, and I've built the life that I want. So you do get a lot of freedom from that. You just have to be savvy. And one of the things that can be difficult as you move through the ranks of editing is, they say, finding your style of editing. I think you should ignore that. I don't think you should try and find a style. You won't have a style until you just try everything. So if that is a quest of yours, or you feel like that's something that you need to develop, stop. You don't. You just edit. And the more you edit, the more different styles of things you edit. Music videos, music documentaries, investigative documentaries, news, what else? Commercials, social content, YouTube videos, gaming videos. Do it all. Try it all. Because you'll realize that certain elements from certain styles of editing, certain genres, will feed really, really nicely into others. In my early days, cut lots of trailers for documentaries mostly, but trailers for social media. And so they were short, they were punchy, high energy, and that really, along with my experience cutting music videos and music video documentaries, has really shaped how I come into all of my edits. And if there's a moment that I feel could really do with a high energy montage, then all of that experience comes in, boom, and I can just deliver on that, create a montage that works perfectly with that edit, even if it's a slow paced, romantic documentary or something of that along that lines, commercial. You will find these moments where you go, oh yeah, I could do that, and it'll come through. So try your hand at all different types of editing, and just do it, and those things will come through in the future. So one of the main things most people come to me, one of the first biggest fears that most people have, is that they don't have a portfolio, or they're trying to build a portfolio. And that is not as important as you think it is, because if you are going to put yourself forward for work, they will ask to see some of your work. So what do you send them? of course you think you need to send them a portfolio. They want to see more portfolio. But what if you just send them a link? Hi, I cut this. I edited this. Send them one link, 2 links. If it's hyper relevant to what they are asking for, that's enough. All they want to know is what level of skill you're on. If you send a portfolio, they're not looking at the whole thing. They're going to watch 1 or maybe 2 videos. So just create one really good edit based on the kind of something that you love. Using the example earlier, we can talk about adventure travel. Let's say you have a passion for it. Doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you want to specialize in. Try it, see if you like it. But if you create one, you could even shoot it yourself or use footage from a friend, cut it really well, and then put yourself forward to cut something that's similar to that. Do you have any experience? Here, I cut this. That is enough. You don't need 6 videos. Start with 1, because all it is it's a showcase of what you are capable of. Here is what I'm capable of. This video, I made it. It's 3 minutes long. Enjoy. So don't put too much emphasis on the portfolio. It really is just about putting one thing out there. Take it step by step. Stop procrastinating and thinking that you need a huge portfolio. You don't. You just need to be targeted with what you cut and how you and who you present that to. Now, I know that most people feel, certainly I did and even still do, feel a bit daunted by networking, and they see this as a barrier and something that they can't have a career until they've got this, or they feel too shy, or am I even going to be successful if I can't do this? You will. Yeah, you will. You don't have to throw yourself in the lion's den and go to film festivals and rub shoulders with people and schmooze. We are editors. We are an introverted bunch. Most of us hate the idea of that. So I don't feel like that is completely necessary. You can build your network purely through email, reaching out on LinkedIn, but my favorite is just recommendations. So 1 client, that's where it starts. It's just getting 1 client, getting them to recommend you, asking them, please recommend me. Hound them until they recommend you to someone else. And now you have 2. Ask them to recommend you, and now you have 3. And if you do another job for the first client, ask for another recommendation. Okay, and now you can, get loads more recommendations. That is the simplest way of networking, all right? And it just starts with 1 job. That's all you need. Don't focus on the macro, the overwhelming. Just focus on 1 thing, 1 job. And you can do that, like I said earlier, by building an edit, sharing it with someone specific, share an edit that's specific to that person and how something that they will appreciate, create something for them, 1 recommendation, and so on. Now, of course, if that person comes back with feedback, sometimes handling feedback can be one of the hardest parts of our job. Unfortunately, you're going to have to leave your ego at the door. Sure, you might be taking feedback from somebody who is not creative and they have hired you to do a creative job. However, they're paying your bills. And if you want more work and you want that recommendation, you've got to keep them happy first and foremost. So you get feedback you don't like, you create 1 version for the way that the client wants to do it, and you create another version which is how you think it should be done, and you show them both. So this is turning into like a everything you should know before you begin sort of podcast episode. But That is how to handle feedback that you do not agree with. And you should always handle it positively and thank them for the feedback. At the end of the day, it is learning. Every single piece of feedback, whether you agree with it or not, you are learning from it. So frame it like that and think about it like that. And one of the hardest things is tech issues as well. But that can be completely circumnavigated, prevented. Prevention is better than cure when it comes to technical issues. The way that I would consider prevention, the best prevention, is use a Mac, because they don't tend to need as much care, technical knowledge to use and function. And you also have the Apple Store and the tech support there. If ever you need anything, you can just give them a call, boom, sort it. And also, if you are going to be using Premiere, everybody screams that Premiere is really buggy, but it's no more buggy than any other editing software if you know how to use it correctly. And so if you don't know correct technical workflow, then head to the Unsplice blog and you will find there is a guide there for the 10 most common causes as to why Premiere Pro crashes. Go to the Unsplice website and you can search for it in the title bar. So you'll get the top 10 reasons why Premiere Pro crashes and how to fix it, because you're using it wrong. And I say that with love, because you're not practicing correct technical workflow. That is one of the core parts of the curriculum, of the workflow curriculum in Unsplice Pro, because it's so incredibly important. It is the foundation of every edit. And if your edit keeps crashing, regardless of the software you are using, or if it's slow or laggy, or you have a delay when you hit the play button, these are all technical workflow issues that can be solved. And I bet if you are experiencing any of these, the number one thing is that you are editing with MP4s. So don't do that. That's bad. Sharpen your knowledge on workflow. And one of the main things which has come up a lot recently is the healthy work-life balance, because we can be expected to work long hours as editors. 10 hours is not uncommon, and you should go into the industry expecting this. However, I'm a strong believer that if you are firm, if you are firm and you let the client know when you're available and your working hours, they will accept that and adopt that. And I think this, the long hours thing is a hangover from a previous generation of editors, where this was necessary to get things out the door, to meet deadlines. But now we are in 2023, there is a shift towards a healthier work-life balance, and your health is more important than the client's deadline. And if they can't plan a correct production pipeline based on a healthy human schedule, that is their problem and not yours. So I believe that we should be firm upfront from the very beginning and just say, I'm only available until 6. Pick your time, whatever that is. And make a thing of it and just say, sorry, I have to go. We'll pick this up in the morning. When the more you do this, the more normalized it becomes, the more people will respect that. But it only happens if we actually make the change. And of course, despite all of these things, a career in video editing can be very rewarding because you are creating. I think most of us, we like to tinker, we like to build, go down to the minute details from creating something that's bigger. And when you, in this job, when you complete something, you have got something to add to your catalogue. This is your life, the trail that your life leaves behind. Even if it goes on social media and it's only up for a few weeks, you've created something, and that can live on your hard drive in your life portfolio forever. You can look back and go, this is what I did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and you've got a great catalogue, and you can see all the things that you've created through your life, which is really, really nice to kind of have that legacy. Even if it's a legacy just to you and perhaps your loved ones, it's still a legacy, and I think it's nice to feel like you've created something. So if you are suffering from any of these challenges, then don't try to fix all of them at the same time. Don't think, okay, I need to do all of these. We've spoken about a lot, and you should think about one at a time. Concentrate on one at a time. Try and improve one area, and then move on to the next one. Otherwise, it becomes super overwhelming. You can bookmark this episode if you like, and go back and listen to each bit, depending on where you are in your career and how you can overcome that. Don't spend too long. I'm going to reiterate, don't spend too long on your portfolio. Don't feel like it's holding you back. Don't put the portfolio on a pedestal, okay? Because all you need is a job. Think about that. Get the job. One job. That's it. Just try and get that. Keep motivated and keep learning. Remember, you don't want to get stuck in the perpetual practice loop where you're practicing and practicing and practicing the same thing over and over and over and over again. Just like Einstein said, to practice the same thing or do the same thing again and again and expect a different result is the definition of insanity. So make sure you have a quality input that you can learn a lesson, practice that until it's in your memory, and then learn a new lesson, practice that, and make sure you've got a quality input so you're learning from a quality source. Because if you're only using YouTube, then you're only going to edit to a YouTube level. So make sure you have quality input source. Thank you so much for joining me. I would love it if you would rate this. And if you're watching this on YouTube, if you wouldn't subscribe, that would be awesome. And if you're listening to this podcast and you've taken some greatness from this episode, then please leave a review. I would love that. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will speak to you next week. Cheers. Bye-bye.